Hi, today we will have to make a bit of an unfortunate repair. As you saw in the cold open, I had a bit of a crash. I will not go too deep into what exactly caused that, but the short story is I pre-drilled a hole, then misused a U-drill as a boring bar, and that U-drill wasn't too happy about encountering more material than it was supposed to at the end. This took out one of the chuck jaws. This is the broken jar, and I personally never saw a break like that. It just broke over the whole length. It's a very brittle fracture. That in turn, I think, was the main reason the part flew, and this part took out a pretty sizable chunk out of the boxways on its way out stage left. Obviously, it also killed the U-drill, but that's the least of my problems here. Let's have a look at the damage and what we can maybe do about it.
It's mostly a relatively clean, brittle fracture, but a small piece has just partially broken and still hangs on. On the vertical face, there's some deformation, mostly from that part that still hangs on. The size of the break is relatively small compared to the length that is spanned by the saddle, so I'm not really concerned about a loss in stiffness. I think the most relevant part is to re-establish the surface so that the way wipers will work and dirt can't make its way under there. I got rid of that loose section first. A carbide center punch, formerly known as broken end mill, did this job easily. In my last video, I used Mowgli's in the hopes to repair my Collet closer. More on that thing later as well. But for now, having that epoxy made for sliding surfaces comes in handy. I plan on grinding away the damaged area and cast a new surface. Using a pneumatic rotary tool, I could get to the damage relatively easy. I managed to establish a somewhat clean edge with straightish walls. I was concerned that if the lead-in for the Mowgli's was too gradual, it would crack later. I wanted a wall of at least a millimeter or so around the established edge. I switched from the grinding wheel to a carbide burr to get rid of some more material. The burr worked great, but the angle I held it in, combined with my own hands and the camera, made it hard to see. This led to some extra damage on the ways. The collet nut rubbed on the ways, and I did not notice that. At this point, I had to cut out about 5 minutes of expletives. I should really not be allowed to mess with this stuff. After inspecting the new damage, it doesn't look too bad. So let's call it localized deep flaking and go on. I repeated the same grinding on the vertical face of the boxways, this time with no additional casualties. I added a few gashes and drilled some shallow holes to help the epoxy adhere. For the pouring form, I milled an angle in an aluminium block with a 1 mm hole right in the corner. From the other side, I opened this hole to accept a single-use syringe for injecting the Muglis.
Yep.
With the placement of the damage, I would not be able to inject from the lowest point, which is generally how it is supposed to be done to avoid air being trapped. So I painted on a layer after degreasing the surface, making sure that this layer is air-free and well adhered to the underground. Then I clamped the pouring block to the boxways. Here it is helpful that it is not a prismatic way. I injected the Muglis until some flowed out on both sides of the chamfers. I removed the plunger and placed the syringe back so it could act as a reservoir in case there are some minor leaks. Lastly, I plugged the sides with some Play-Doh and let it sit until the next day. I removed the clamps and gave the block a single sharp tap from the side, in the hopes that the pouring hole would be sheared off clean. That worked mostly, but a small crater where the injection hole was located stayed behind. The new material was just slightly proud of the original surface. I brought it down with sandpaper and a file. Checking regularly with a straight edge and light until it was either flat or just slightly low everywhere. Lastly, I tested the repair by moving the saddle over it. The wipers seem to work fine. I think this is as good of a repair as I am able to do, but time will have to show if this will hold up. Now, with this new damage repaired, let's see if we can repair the failed repair from last video. If you haven't seen the last video, the pneumatic collet closer on this machine leaks air by design. But the amount seemed so unreasonably high that I concluded that it had to have gotten worse over time due to wear. This seems to have been a wrong conclusion. I used Muglis to tighten the tolerances in the collar that is used to get the air to the drawbar. That leads to it seizing up as the machine warms up in use. Let's get the part back to its original size and solve the leakage problem with money in the forms of a bigger compressor. We have to increase the bore by about 2/100 of a millimeter. For this, I used a manual honing tool meant for resurfacing cylinder bores. After reassembling the system, my problems seem to be gone. It runs freely, even after minutes of running it at high speeds. The air loss seems about the same, maybe a little worse than before I started the repairs. Let's compare my old and new compressor for a second. Until now I used this cobbled together one. Its compressor is a cheap 750 watt return unit and the tank was free, as its original compressor was broken. The new one is a 2250 watt unit using the same style of compressor, just 3 times, and a 100 liter tank. With this new compressor, the system works great. The gauge pressure stays stable over time and I can actually dial in the pressure that I want. That was not the case before. Being able to vary the pressure is important when working with softer materials or thin-walled tubing. 5.5 bar seems to be the maximum that I can give it. And with that, we have 2 repairs down and I have 1 more to go for this video. Now to the last repair of this episode. It was quite a while ago when I tried threading with pretty bad results. The comments tried to help me and the encoder or the encoder ratio were the most likely reasons found. In the end, it was something way easier and something that I caused in the first place. When I got the machine, the belt coupling the spindle to its encoder was in extremely bad shape. I replaced it and cleaned the 2 pulleys in that process. What I found now is that I did a horrible job on cleaning the parts. There was a single tooth gap in the encoder that had some hard gunk in it and that chewed up the new belt. As you can see from the side, it looks still good. When I looked to check, which I did multiple times while troubleshooting, that was more or less all I saw. I know it seems super obvious here, but remember, this view is under massive magnification. Having found this problem, it should be pretty easy to resolve. I just have to pull the spindle again and clean the pulleys. Then reassemble with a new belt. And then try running a thread. Okay, I know this is not quite a thread gauge, but it still tells me not quite deep enough. Okay, this looks promising. The nut does not fit. Let's just rerun the program with a slightly increased value for the K parameter. Yeah, it runs in the same thread and looks still good. Still not deep enough though. Let's increase K again, and for fun, let's go from 600 to 900 RPM. Nice. Now it fits. And after a few hours of spindle time, the belts look still brand new. Let's hope that this still will be the case after a few 100 hours.
At this point, I think we can call this machine basically functional. The collet closer works fine now. It would have worked fine if I did nothing but buy a new compressor as well, but who knew that? The bed, now after a few hours of use and probably a few 100 times the support went over it, looks fine as well. That doesn't mean much yet. I really have to see in a few weeks or months how this holds up. But for now, I'm pretty okay with the repair, and I think it's the best I personally am capable of at this point in time. And the threading works fine as well. In the end, this problem should have never been there. If I just worked more cleanly in the first place, this would have been fine from the start. But again, we found it now, we get rid of it, it seems to work reliably now. I made about a dozen M10 threads on random stuff just to try, and it seems to work really nicely now. So with that, I think that the Schaublin is done. And for anyone that is still listening to me, thank you really much, and I hope you had fun. See you next time.